I want you to picture something for me. And I want you to really try to visualize this in your mind right now.
Okay, setting the scene.
Yeah, so imagine a bronze sculpture from the year 1960. At first glance, it basically just looks like a crude stick figure.
Right.
It's incredibly thin, I mean, almost emaciated, and it's just striding forward with these really long, spindly legs.
A very striking image.
It really is. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what could that specific piece of mid-century art possibly teach us about cutting-edge athletic performance? Or, biomechanics and human efficiency today?
I mean, it does sound like the setup to a highly niche joke, honestly.
Right.
You've got avant-garde high art all the way on one side of the spectrum, and then high-tech sports science on the other. But according to the research we're looking at today, this actually isn't a joke at all.
Not even a little bit.
No, because according to biomechanist Dr. Christophe Delong and the whole team at Kinexa Formation, this sculptor actually solved a physiological mystery, one that modern human performance labs are really just now fully catching up to.
Yeah, and the presentation we are unpacking today from Kinexa is called Alberto Giacometti, the architect of vertical presence.
It's a fascinating title.
It is. And the mission of our deep dive today is to basically bridge that gap between an artist's obsession and your own physical reality. We're going to look at how Giacometti's lifelong fixation on the human form holds the key to how we move, how we perform, and honestly, how we just survive a modern world that is constantly pulling us down.
Well, to even begin to understand the biomechanics here, we really need to shift our entire perspective on the human body.
How so?
Well, we are trained to think of the body as this biological machine, right? Made of flesh, muscle, and bone. We think entirely about growing muscles or losing fat.
Which is pretty standard, yeah.
Exactly. But we need to start looking at the body as an architectural marvel instead. It's a structure that is engaged in this constant, relentless 24/7 battle against one singular enemy.
Gravity.
Gravity, exactly.
Okay, so to understand that battle with gravity, we first have to understand the artist who is so utterly obsessed with it, right?
We do.
So we are talking about the Swiss sculptor Alberto Giacometti. He lived from 1901 to 1966. And according to the research laid out by Dr. Delong, Giacometti spent basically his entire adult life trying to solve one single, incredibly frustrating problem.
And it was a problem that consumed him.
Totally consumed him. He was trying to figure out, how do you capture the true, undeniable presence of a human being in space?
Right, not just what they look like on the surface.
Right, not just the visual representation, but the feeling of their actual physical weight and existence in a room.
It's a heavy concept.
It is, and his definitive answer, the realization he finally arrived at after literally decades of agonizing work in his Parisian studio, was verticality.
And to understand the sheer value of that answer, I mean, you just have to look at the historical record.
Oh, the option prices?
Yes. His 1960 bronze piece, L'Homme qui marche, which translates to The Walking Man, is currently one of the most expensive sculptures ever sold at public auction.
It's wild.
It fetched $104 million in 2010.
$104 million. For a figure that honestly looks like it has been stripped down to almost nothing.
Well, the presentation emphasizes that Giacometti spent 2 full decades sculpting these increasingly emaciated figures. And people looking at them in museums, they often mistakenly assume this was just an artistic style.
Like it was just his brand.
Exactly, like Picasso had Cubism or Monet had Impressionism. But the sources are incredibly clear on this point. This was not a stylistic choice at all.
It wasn't.
No, it was an absolute structural necessity. Giacometti was furiously searching for what is called the essential line of presence.
The essential line of presence.
Yes, he was stripping away everything that wasn't strictly necessary just to figure out what actually makes a human being occupy space.
Reading through Kinexa's analysis of his studio process, the light bulb really went on for me. Because Giacometti was essentially acting as a demolition crew for the human form.
A demolition crew, I like that.
Yeah, like imagine taking a house and aggressively pulling off all the siding and then tearing out the drywall, ripping out the insulation until absolutely nothing is left except the foundational load-bearing beams.
He was trying to find the core structural truth.
Exactly. He wasn't sculpting biceps or skin. He was sculpting the literal invisible axis that keeps the human structure from just collapsing into a pile on the floor.
That's spot on. And Kinexa formation defines this exact discovery as vertical anchoring.
Vertical anchoring.
Right. Giacometti realized that human presence isn't about height at all. It's not about bulk, it's not about mass, and it's certainly not about perfect anatomical symmetry.
So it's not about how much space you take up.
Exactly. A Giacometti figure occupies its space entirely via its axis, not its surface area.
So it defies gravity through precision rather than through robustness. Like, it doesn't need thick tree trunk legs to stand up because the alignment of that thin bronze line is just so flawless.
It's pure physics.
Yeah.
If you build a physical structure where the center of gravity falls perfectly down the middle, perfectly aligned with the downward forces of gravity, it just doesn't need massive external support cables.
Or thick retaining walls.
Right. The underlying architecture does all the heavy lifting for you. And Giacometti found that perfect line in bronze. He located that essential verticality that allows a figure to just be without any visible exertion.
Okay, so this brings up a huge question. If our bodies are constantly seeking this perfect architectural anchor to avoid burning energy, what happens when we step away from the bronze statue and look at an actual modern human being?
Oh, this is where it gets highly relevant.
Right, because the Kinexa presentation introduces this concept called the lost axis, or lex perdue. And things get incredibly uncomfortable here for those of us sitting at a desk right now.
It really is the modern malady.
Yeah.
And it is something almost all of us are suffering from, whether we know it or not. It happens progressively and completely imperceptibly.
Because of our environment.
Exactly. Look at our modern environment. We sit in chairs for 8 hours a day. We stare down at screens perpetually locked in our hands.
Constantly looking down.
Right. We navigate a world made entirely of flat, artificial surfaces. And the sources outline a very specific physiological chain reaction that occurs when we lose that perfect Giacometti verticality.
Okay, walk me through that chain reaction.
So first, the heavy human head moves forward off the center line. Then, the shoulders begin to round inward.
Ah, the classic desk slouch.
Yes. And finally, to compensate for all that forward weight, the pelvis tilts completely out of alignment.
Wait, okay, let me push back on that for a second because something isn't quite tracking for me.
Okay, what is it?
When I slouch in my ergonomic office chair right now, I feel completely relaxed. Like my shoulders are rolled forward, my back is curved, but I feel like a puddle.
Right, you feel supported.
Yeah, it feels like the chair is doing all the work. So how can the sources claim I'm suffering a massive physical cost or, leaping energy if my muscles feel like jelly?
Well, that feeling of relaxation is actually the critical illusion of the modern slouch.
An illusion?
Yes, you feel relaxed because you are hanging off your passive structures like your ligaments and your joints, rather than using your active postural muscles.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But think about the physics of it. A human head weighs roughly 10 to 12 pounds. It's basically a bowling ball.
That is heavy.
It is. When your spine is perfectly vertical, the bones stack up and support that weight effortlessly. But the moment your head moves forward, which is that first step of the lost axis, you create a lever arm.
A lever arm.
Right. For every single inch your head moves forward out of alignment, the relative weight your neck muscles have to support drastically increases.
So even if I feel relaxed, my underlying kinetic chain is basically freaking out trying to keep that bowling ball from snapping my neck.
You are actively mobilizing muscles constantly just to prevent yourself from face planting onto your keyboard.
That is a terrifying image.
It's the truth, though. Kinexa's data points out that every single centimeter of deviation from that vertical axis literally multiplies the compression forces on your intervertebral discs.
Every centimeter.
Every centimeter. You are forcing muscles to fire continuously when they should be resting and available. You've lost your natural architectural anchor, so gravity is now pulling you down at a harsh angle.
And your body is just fighting a metabolic war just to keep you upright.
Exactly.
I thought bad posture just meant I might need a massage later. I didn't realize it was a constant active metabolic drain. I mean, I'm literally burning precious energy all day long just fighting gravity poorly.
And this is exactly where the genius of Dr. Christophe Delong and the Kinexa analysis really shifts the paradigm. Because they aren't just art critics pointing out that human beings slouch.
Yeah, right. They have a practical application.
Yes. They are taking this devastating reality of the lost axis and providing a technological solution for the modern athlete. They want to find a way to measure and correct this massive energy leak.
Which is tricky, right? Because you can't exactly freeze a modern athlete in bronze to see if their axis is perfectly aligned.
No, you can't.
So how do they measure it? Because the presentation calls their solution the digital plumb line. Or le fil à plomb numérique.
Right. So Giacometti sought that essential line of presence in static, unchanging bronze. But Kinexa is revealing it in real, explosive human movement.
Okay, Al.
They use this concept of the digital plumb line to analyze the vertical axis in athletic gestures using highly advanced digital tracking.
Like tracking their every move.
Yeah, they aren't just looking at the broad strokes of how someone runs, they're looking at the microscopic breakdown of their structural integrity.
And the ultimate test of this integrity, the movement that both Giacometti and Kinexa obsess over, is the walk.
Giacometti returned to the walk constantly, and the source defines walking in a specific, almost poetic, biomechanical way.
Oh, I loved this part.
They say it's maintaining one's axis through a controlled fall, repeated thousands of times.
A controlled fall. I mean, that's exactly what it is. You lean your weight forward, you intentionally lose your balance, and then your foot swings forward to catch you over and over again.
It's a beautiful way to think about it.
Yeah.
And Kinexa's technology tracks the quality of the vertical axis during that dynamic controlled fall.
They track the fall.
Right. They analyze the gait cycle, they analyze a sprinter's run, they analyze a weightlifter's squat. They map the body digitally to find the exact millisecond, the precise millimeter, where what they call postural sovereignty is lost.
Postural sovereignty. Man, that is a heavy, commanding phrase.
It really is.
Because it frames gravity as this hostile, invasive force that is trying to conquer your body, and you have to maintain absolute dominion over your own structure.
It is entirely about ownership of your physical house. When Kinexa analyzes an elite athlete, they aren't just looking at how fast their legs are turning over,
Right.
or, how much force they put into the ground.
What are they looking for then?
They are looking at the purity of their axis. They figure out exactly where that sovereignty is compromised.
Ah,
Yeah, maybe the pelvis tilts 1 degree too far under heavy load, or the shoulders round just subtly during a sprint. They locate the exact moment the athlete starts fighting gravity instead of using it.
okay, I think I'm getting this. So if I'm an athlete and my head is pitched forward just a few centimeters while I run, my back and neck muscles are working overtime just to keep me from falling on my face.
Exactly.
So I'm fighting gravity, I'm fighting friction, and I'm fighting my opponent on the field. It's like driving a sports car with the parking brake fully engaged.
That is the perfect analogy. The engine is revving, but the structure is fighting against itself.
Wow. So regaining this axis, this Giacometti verticality, it isn't about doing more work.
Not at all.
Right. It's not about making the athlete hit the gym to build a bigger engine. It's entirely an act of subtraction.
Subtraction, yes.
You correct the axis, you stop doing something totally useless, you release that parking brake, and suddenly the athlete goes faster without adding any new muscle.
That realization right there perfectly encapsulates the Kinexa philosophy.
Yeah.
Yes. The presentation calls this profound concept presence as performance.
Presence as performance.
Right. In modern sports science, we are so often obsessed with addition. Add more muscle, add more reps, add more power.
Always more.
Always. But unnecessary muscular tension is the absolute enemy of athletic efficiency. When an athlete recovers their vertical axis, what happens to all that energy they save from not fighting gravity?
It gets redirected straight into the actual sport.
Exactly. The source makes a very definitive statement here. They say verticality is not a passive posture. It is the first condition of athletic efficiency.
The very first condition.
Yes. Before you train explosive power, before you train agility, before you train speed, you absolutely must establish verticality. Otherwise, you are just building massive horsepower on top of a broken, misaligned chassis.
And the engine will eventually just tear the car apart.
Precisely.
So what does this actually mean for you listening to this deep dive right now? I mean, it means that a guy covered in plaster and bronze dust in a cramped Parisian studio back in 1960 fundamentally understood a mechanical truth about the human body.
A truth that cutting-edge sports science is using today to create elite performers.
Right. He showed us that precision and axis matter infinitely more than sheer mass and muscle.
And Dr. Christophe Delong and Kinexa Formation are taking that exact philosophy, digitizing it, and using it to help modern humans unlock trapped energy.
They are literally teaching us to stop fighting gravity unnecessarily.
Yes, to stack our bones the way they were designed to be stacked, and to finally reclaim our postural sovereignty.
It completely flips the way you think about taking a simple walk down the street.
It really does.
And if you want to actually see this digital plumb line in action and see how they map real-time digital data over Giacometti sculptures, I highly recommend checking out the source material.
It's very visual, highly recommended.
Yeah, so Kinexa has a full visual presentation we've been referencing today called Kinexa X Giacometti, the essential verticality. They also dive even deeper into the biomechanics in their ebook, which is episode 25 of their ongoing The Gesture Visionary series.
That's a great read.
And you can explore how this directly applies to athletic training at formation.kinexa.ai, or even reach out to them at kinexa.ai for a real-time demonstration.
I'd love to try that demo myself.
Honestly, me too. And the Gesture Visionary series is just fantastic if you are fascinated by this crossover between fine art and movement sovereignty.
You know, the connection between the artist's intuitive eye and the biomechanist's hard data,
Yeah.
it really is a masterclass in seeing the human body differently.
It really is.
And the Kinexa presentation closes with that very powerful statement we touched on. Verticality is sovereignty.
Verticality is sovereignty.
Right. And we spent this entire deep dive talking about the physical body,
Uh-huh.
about discs compressing, muscles firing, and athletic efficiency.
The physical parking brake we leave engaged all day long.
Exactly. But consider the broader environment we live in for a moment.
Hmm.
We exist in a world both physically and digitally that is explicitly designed to constantly pull us downward.
It's true.
It's designed to round our shoulders over illuminated screens, to compress us into these small, stressful, reactive postures, while we just consume endless streams of information.
Ugh, yes.
So if reclaiming our physical verticality frees up so much wasted, trapped energy in our muscular system, how much mental and emotional energy might we unlock if we finally reclaimed our architectural center?
That is a staggering thought. I mean, are we emotionally slouching too, just because our environment is demanding it?
Well, if the body leads the mind, finding your physical axis might be the absolute first step to finding your true presence in the world.
Wow.
It's certainly something to mull over the next time you feel the gravity of the modern world pulling your shoulders down.